So I welcome all of you for the lesson Physiology of Plants, Plant Physiology. And now we will be discussing what are the differences between tropic and nastic movements. Tropic movements, they are unidirectional response to the stimulus. ஸோ இங்கே பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தூண்டலின் பேரில், அதாவது தூண்டலை பொறுத்து அசைவு, அதனால தான் அதுக்கு பேர் ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் டு த ஸ்டிமுலஸ். தி பிளான்ட் பார்ட் ஆர் ஈவன் த ஹோல் பிளான்ட், இட் க்ரோஸ் இன் ஒன் டைரக்ஷன் டுவர்ட்ஸ் தட் ஸ்டிமுலஸ். And what is nastic movement? Already we discussed. Non-directional response to the stimulus. There is a movement, but that is not in response to the stimulus. In other words, of course there is stimulus, there is light, there is temperature, there is touch, these are all stimulus, but it is not in one direction. As I told you, for example, this photonasty, it opens in the morning and it closes in the evening. Again in the morning it opens. So it is not in one direction. If you see the roots, they grow in one direction towards the gravity. If you see the stem, it grows in one direction, that is towards the light. So they are called as tropism. And in tropic movements, it is growth dependent movement. It is mainly because of growth. Due to cell division, new cells are formed, and due to the growth, there is movement. That's what we call growth dependent movements. But here in nastic movements, it is growth independent movement. It is not because of growth, it is because of that part or that flower. It opens and closes due to the principle. There is a main principle I told you. For example, the flower which opens in the morning, Taraxum officinale, and closes in the night, that is mainly due to the water, due to the inflated cells where you find turgidity. That turgidity helps in opening the petals of the flower, and at the night time the water moves out of the interior cells and the cells become deflated so that the petals they close. So it is not growth dependent movement. In other words, வளர்ச்சியை சார்ந்து அமையாது. And tropic movements, they are more or less permanent and irreversible. So it is again, it cannot be reversed. It is permanent. A stem grows day by day, it grows, and that growth cannot be reversible. But nastic movements are not like that. It is temporary. Morning it is in open condition, at night it is in closed condition. So that is why we call it as temporary. And அது தற்காலிகமானது மற்றும் மீளக்கூடியது, reversible. It comes to its original position. It can be reversed. This movement can be reversible. And tropism is found in all plants. All plants, because the stem has to grow towards the light, the root has to grow towards the gravity, towards the water. So it is found in all plants. But nastic movements, they are found only in a few specialized plants like Ipomia alba, moonflower, Taraxum officinale, and even you can see that in Venus flytrap. It's an insectivorous plant. Its botanical name is called Dionia mixipula. So, or Massipula. So, in some specialized plants alone, you can see this movement which is very temporary, and it is not in one direction, and it is also reversible. So, for example, the Mimosa pudica leaves, they fold and they come after some time, they are reversed to their original position. Likewise, in the morning, taraxum, the flowers, they are in open condition. In the night, they are in closed condition. So these are all specialized plants. These nastic movements found only in specialized plants. And tropisms, it's a slow action. Why? Only when there is growth. Only when there are new cells formed. Only when there is new cell formed, and that leads to the growth of the plant, and that growth is towards one direction. Of course, it is based on the stimulus, and it is very slow in action. But this monastic movements, they have an immediate action. For example, this touch me not plant. If you touch the leaves will fall. Within short time, they open, they come to their original position. So these are the differences between tropic and nastic movements. It's a 3-mark question. It's a very important question. Then we move on to the next topic. It is called photosynthesis. This also I discussed in the second video. Photo means light. Synthesis means to build, to manufacture, to produce. What it produces? It produces food. So, in the presence of light, inside the chlorophyll, by using raw materials like carbon dioxide and water, the plant, it synthesizes food. Mainly, very important, it gets sun's energy, that light energy. Sun's light energy is converted into chemical energy. So, photosynthesis literally means building up with the help of light. And during this process, the light energy, sun's light energy, is converted into chemical energy, that is glucose, C6H12O6 glucose. And green plants, they are called autotrophs. What do you mean by autotrophic? They can prepare their own food. So, since they prepare their own food material through a process called photosynthesis, green plants are called autotrophic, and their mode of nutrition is called autotrophic mode of nutrition. What is the overall equation of photosynthesis? 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water molecules in the presence of sunlight inside the chloroplast, where you find the chlorophyll pigment. The plant can produce glucose. We call it as carbohydrates, C6H12O6, and there is a byproduct called oxygen. How you get this oxygen? By the photolysis of water. Water is split by light into protons, that is hydrogen ions, and oxygen and electrons. So during the splitting of water, you get oxygen as a byproduct, and it is very useful for us, for the animals, even for the plants to respire, to breathe. Now listen dear, the end product of photosynthesis is glucose, and this glucose is converted into starch and it is stored in the plant body. Likewise, we eat food, and the food is digested, and the glucose, amino acids, and fatty acids, they are absorbed by the villi and they are taken by the blood to the cells. They are stored in the cells, and that glucose is converted into glycogen. In plants, glucose is converted into starch, and in animals and human beings, it is converted into glycogen and it is stored in the liver. Okay, so plants, they take in carbon dioxide for photosynthesis, but you must be very clear whether it is plant, whether it is a human being or a donkey, all during respiration they take in oxygen and they leave out carbon dioxide. Whether it is a plant, plants also during respiration they take in oxygen and they leave out carbon dioxide. But only during photosynthesis they take in carbon dioxide and they leave out oxygen. So plants also need oxygen to carry on cellular respiration. What do you mean by cellular respiration? So they have prepared glucose, isn't it? Now that glucose has to be burnt, it has to be combusted, it has to be broken down. That's what we call it as aerobic respiration. In the presence of oxygen, that glucose is broken down into simpler substances like carbon dioxide and water. And what is the main product? Energy. And that energy is stored in the form of adenosine triphosphate, ATP. You would have studied, you would have heard of it, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It is called the energy currency of the plant cells. It is otherwise called as the bioenergy. And what are the certain things that are necessary for photosynthesis? Very important, chlorophyll. And that is the green pigment. That green pigment, it captures the photons. Photons are energy packets found in the sun's light energy. So, very good light or wavelength is 400 nanometer to in between 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer. It absorbs the light. It absorbs the light in the form of photons, energy packets. Okay, when you come to +1, you'll be studying all that in detail. Then water is essential for photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, it is very essential for photosynthesis. And very important is sunlight. Okay, the next topic is transpiration. What is transpiration? The loss of water in the form of water vapor from the aerial parts of the plant body. What do you mean by aerial parts of the plant body? That is nothing but leaves. Leaves are called as the aerial parts of the plant body. And through these leaves, the excess amount of water present inside the leaves, they escape as water vapor, and that process is called transpiration. See, the leaves have tiny microscopic openings. Can you see that opening? We call it as stomata. Stomata are actually plural form and stoma is the singular form. And water evaporates through these stomata, through these opening. Okay, listen carefully. Each stoma, it should have been written, each stoma. So each stoma is surrounded by guard cells. And guard cells, what are guard cells? They are bean-shaped cells. Can you see in that diagram? Two bean-shaped cells. And in the center you find the opening. That is called stomata. And on the both the guard cells you find nucleus, you find chloroplast. And the guard cells have a cell wall. Also they have a big vacuole. Vacuole is the space where the cell sap is found. Cell sap is found. What is cell sap? Already I told you that. Salt and sugar dissolved in water. So these guard cells, they help in regulating, directing the rate of transpiration. They enhance the process of transpiration. How? This water escapes outside by the opening and the closing of stomata. Stomatal movement. It's a very important topic which you'll be studying in 11th standard. Again, here also, see, can you see in the Guard cells, can you see the guard cells? The inner walls are very thick, they are very thick, and the outer walls are very thin and elastic. So in the daytime, what will happen? In the daytime, water will enter into the guard cells from the subsidiary cells. What are subsidiary cells? They are cells surrounding the guard cells. So what happens when water enters? The same process. Turgor pressure increases. So due to the turgor pressure, the thin wall, that is the outer thin elastic walls of the guard cells, they will expand. So when they expand, automatically the thick, rigid inner wall, that will open so that the water escapes outside as water vapor. What are the different types of transpiration? There are 3 different types of transpiration. Number 1 is called stomatal transpiration. What do you mean by that? The loss of water in the form of water vapor through stomata. See, 90 to 95% of the water, it is transpired through leaves. Through leaves means mainly through the stomata, which is found on the lower epidermis of the leaf. If you have you will come across in, I think, in 10th standard, the anatomy of dicot leaf. It has an upper epidermis and it has a lower epidermis. And on the lower epidermis, you find the stomata, these openings. So through this stomata, water escapes about 90 to 95%. The plant uses at only 2 to 3% of water for photosynthesis. All the remaining, it allows to escape as water vapor. And that is why it is said, grow more trees. When you grow more trees, you will get more rain. So these water vapor, they form clouds, they condense, and they come down as precipitation. And that is nothing but malai polivu, rain. Then cuticular transpiration. What is cuticular transpiration? Loss of water in plants through the cuticle. What is cuticle? Where you will find the cuticle? Cuticle is found above the upper epidermis of the leaf. I told you the leaf has 2 surfaces, upper epidermis and lower epidermis. Above the upper epidermis, you find another layer, a single layer, and that is made up of a substance called cutin, a waxy substance, cutin, and that layer is called cuticle. So through cuticle also, water evaporates. That is called cuticular transpiration. Then the third type is called lenticular transpiration. What is lenticular transpiration? Loss of water from plants as vapor. You know that. Water moves out of the plant in the form of water vapor through lenticels. What are lenticels? They are again tiny openings that protrude from the barks. மரப்பட்டைகளிலிருந்து corky barks. There are small openings, mainly in the woody stems, even in the twigs, small branches. Twigs are nothing but small branches. And also it is seen in other plant organs. So through these tiny openings, we call them as lenticels, the excess amount of water escapes as water vapor. And listen carefully. See, transpiration is very necessary for the following reasons. It creates a pull in leaf and stem. For example, see, water, it moves from the soil into the root. That is, the root hairs, they absorb water. From the root hairs, it moves to the cortex. From the cortex, it moves to the endodermis. From the endodermis to the xylem. And from the xylem, it moves upwards through the stem. And it comes to the leaves, all via xylem only. Now, when it reaches, for example, you imagine that there are 1,000 cells in a plant, for example. The first cell is the root hair cell, and the 1,000th cell is the topmost, that on the stem tip you find the tiny leaf. In the tiny leaf, that you find the 1,000th cell. So from the 1,000th cell, water evaporates and it goes out as vapor. So immediately it will take the water, the 1,000th cell, now it is without water. Now it will take the water from the 999 cell. That is, it's a simple process. You would have studied osmosis, potato osmoscope, taking a small potato, making a cavity inside the potato, and in that cavity you would have poured concentrated sugar solution, and you would have kept that potato tuber inside a beaker containing water, pure water, colored water. And also initially, that initial level of the sugar solution, concentrated sugar solution inside the cavity of the potato tuber is marked by a pin. And you leave the setup for some time. After some time, when you see there is a rise in the concentrated sugar solution, also that concentrated sugar solution is colored. What is the principle behind it? What is the reason? See, the water from the beaker is moved into the potato tuber cavity. And that's what we call it as osmosis. What is osmosis? The movement of water molecules from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. That is called osmosis. So based on the osmosis only, the root hair cell, it absorbs water. So from the root hair cell, water moves to the first cortical cell. From the first cortical cell to the second cortical cell. Likewise, it moves and it reaches the 1,000th cell. And from there it escapes into the atmosphere. So that will create a pull, a constant move of water column inside the plant. For that, transpiration is very necessary. And the same transpiration, it creates an absorption force, so that when the root hair cell, it gives the water, and when the water is moving inside the plant and it reaches the 1,000th cell of the leaf, and when the water moves out, again there is pull, and that pull will help the root hairs to absorb water from the soil. And it is also this transpiration only helping necessary, it is very necessary for the continuous supply of minerals. So minerals, they always move from the soil to the plant in the form of ions. Minerals always, they move as cations and anions. All this you will be studying in detail when you come to the higher classes. And also it regulates the temperature of the plant. So the temperature of the plant is regulated by the transpiration. Listen carefully. What do you mean by exchange of gases? Exchange of gases. Photosynthesis, there is exchange of gases. Respiration, there is exchange of gases. Even transpiration, water vapor is there. How does the plant get air? As I told you already, the leaves have minute pores, and those minute pores are called stomata. And through these stomata, the exchange of air takes place. That is, taking inside carbon dioxide and leaving out oxygen through stomata. That is photosynthesis. Taking inside oxygen and leaving outside carbon dioxide through stomata. That is respiration. And you can see these minute pores under a microscope. And this air exchange is taking place continuously through the stomata. Plants, they exchange gases continuously through these stomata. All these you will be studying in higher classes. And I close here, and we will continue.